Shalom and welcome to the 2017 Homeschool Family Conference. Today we're going to start talking about practical school scheduling. Scheduling is a big deal with all of us because we try to figure out how we can get everything done. My name is Ann Elliott and I'm the creator and founder of homeschoolingtorah.com. We're going to start out with just a little bit of a thought from the scriptures before we head into a ton of practical things to help you learn how to do this. First of all, I wanted to share with you something that's been on my heart a lot lately. You see, scheduling is really important to me. I've written a book about being organized. I have blog posts all over the place on the internet about scheduling, and it's been something that I just love to do. I've done it for probably 25 years, maybe even into high school and before that. So let's say 35 years I've been scheduling. I love to schedule. I have a daughter who's 12 and she's the same way. She schedules all of us and kind of drives us a little crazy, but I know where she gets it from. She's constantly got her to-do list. But something that the Father has been laying on my heart lately is that maybe I'm scheduling too much. Maybe this is falling into the category of worry. And worry is also something that has always been a little bit of a problem for me. And I was thinking about Matthew chapter 6, where Yeshua tells us, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will have plenty of things to worry about all by itself. I'm saying this in my Ann version this morning. It says that instead we are to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and then all of these other things will be added unto us. And then right after it says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has enough worries of its own. It says in James chapter 4, verse 13, it says, now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Master's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast and brag. All such boasting is evil. Anyone then who knows the good he ought to do and doesn't do it sins. So basically, the way I'm understanding those verses is that our life is quick, it's gone. We have no idea what tomorrow will bring, let alone an entire school year, let alone an entire 18 years of our children's education. So when we had this brought home to our family in a huge way this summer, as you probably saw early in July, maybe the end of June, I posted all of the things that we wanted to have ready by September 1st. And we still hope to, but we are way behind. And here's why. My husband's father died the middle of June, or July, I should say, and that was completely unexpected. And basically our whole month of July was consumed with caring for him, and then everything after he died. And then it just brought back this verse in such a way. We have no idea what tomorrow will bring. I have a chronic disease. Back in 2006, I had no idea that year would be consumed with that. I have 7 children, 7 pregnancies. You don't know what a year will bring. You really don't. You don't know that your daughter's going to break her arm one day. You don't know that your car is going to break down. You don't know if you're going to be in the hospital. There are just so many things that you cannot factor into a schedule. And so the thing I want to start with, and the thing I hope that you will take to heart and really think about this school year, is the providence of God. That's an old-fashioned way back in Puritan days of saying that God has providentially got his hands on your life and on all of time, on all of history. And he knows what's going to happen and you don't. So rest in it. Rest in his providence. Rest in his provision. Rest in the fact that he knows what's going to happen, and when I saw on Facebook this week, when God says no, that is just another evidence of his goodness. And so we're going to make a schedule. I'm going to talk to you about how to do it the old-fashioned way, the way I've been doing it for 30 years. But I don't know if I am going to do it exactly that way this year. This year, my intention is to get up in the morning and in my prayer time to say, Father, I don't know what today will bring. I know what my paper says, but if it is your will, may I do these things to your glory for your kingdom. And if it is not your will, please help me to relax. Please help me not to be afraid of this day. Please help me not to get completely derailed in my mind. Please help me to just say, oh, okay, this is the new path that we're going on. And by the way, this is what we ask our kids to do. We give them a schedule, and then we throw it all off all the time. And yet we say, come on, kids, it'll be fun. Trust me. Just trust me. And that's what the Father says to us. He says, trust me. So with that in mind, at the top of your handout, I have 5 key sections to making a schedule for a school year, and we're going to go down through those 5 sections with a little bit afterwards to kind of fine tune it. The first one is to plan your calendar, then plan your subjects, plan together school, plan checklists, which is another way of saying independent schoolwork, and plan your notebooks. So we're going to start with your calendar. First of all, above anything else, you need to check your homeschooling laws. Here in the United States, each state has a different tweak on the homeschooling law. And it says in Romans 13, let every soul be subject to the higher powers. The higher powers here tell us which subjects must be done and how many days you must do school, and every state is different. For instance, in Maine, you are required to do 175 days of school, where in Missouri, you are required to do 600 hours. So each situation is a little different. You're going to have to take what I say and what you find on our website and tweak it, because you are the teacher and the principal of your home school. So you have to make sure that your school is fulfilling state requirements. And a homeschooling publishing company is not the principal of your school. We give suggestions, and you are to see them only as suggestions, only as ideas. You are the teacher, you are the principal, and you should take complete charge of the children that God has providentially put into your home. Divorce and special situations may put laws on you that you may not would have had to follow. For instance, maybe the court has said you will have the children on these days, or you will do these subjects. So go with what the powers that be that Jehovah has put on you have ordained, and go with it. I have a cat with me in the video. All right. Then you're going to print out an annual calendar. We have all of these calendars available for you on our website, and I'm going to put links to all of this below the video and in your handout. But first of all, print the annual calendar, and the first thing I like to do is take a marker and just mark the days that I know we're going to take off. We're not going to be schooling 365 days a year. I don't mark all the Shabbats, so that knocks off 50-some Sabbaths. But still, you can mark off the days that you know you won't have school. For instance, you've got the feasts. If you're a Torah believer, then maybe this is your first year doing the feast. But let me just give you a piece of advice. You won't get much school done those weeks. At least we don't. And it would feel really stressful to try to. And besides, it gives your kids something really special to set the schoolwork aside and concentrate on the feast. So with Sukkot coming up in the fall, I have marked off a full 2 weeks of school, even though the feast isn't quite that long. Now, I want you to take something into consideration. If you were going up to Jerusalem 3 times a year, as the Torah does require, and we don't have a temple anymore, so the requirement is a little different, but it is something to shoot for. Okay, so if you would have travel time and packing your suitcases and figuring out who's going to take care of the dog while you're gone, and getting all of those arrangements ready, going onto the airplane, going over there, even if you lived in the land back in the times of the Bible, you would still have to be walking or traveling by donkey or cart or caravan, and you can see where just because the feast is 8 days long, you need to plan at least 2 weeks. And there have been years that we've had company and extra special things at the feast, and we've planned 3 weeks. I'm just saying, mark it off. You won't get much school done. You can still do Bible time. You can still have great discussions. There are so many wonderful things you can do during the feast, but it's not going to be your regular math and things like that. Some of the things you do want to do during the feast, you're going to want to have times for study. Study as adults with other adults, and study as a mom and dad with the children. So that schedule during the feast is going to be very different, but you want to make sure you mark off times for that. You're going to have times that you assemble with others. That's known as good old-fashioned fun times and fellowship. You may have company in the house. You could have people coming over and spending the entire day and into the late nights, and then you're getting up late in the morning because you're a little tired and off schedule. That's okay. You're going to need time to prepare good food. Of course, you wouldn't be doing that on the high holy days, but all the days between and before, you want to have time to prepare that good food, get some set aside in the refrigerator, put it in the freezer. Think ahead. I hate to say it, but this is a lot like getting ready for that other holiday that comes in the middle of December. You know what I mean? You plan ahead for this a long time in advance, and you do take off a hunk of school around it. And even in those weeks before that holiday, you didn't really get that much school done because you have parties and fun events. It's really similar. Okay. Some other things that you're going to want to mark off on your calendar besides Sukkot, Passover in the spring, and any other small holidays that fall during the year, Shavuot, Hanukkah, if you celebrate, Purim, if you celebrate. By the way, Purim, if you do celebrate and make a costume, is going to take you some days. So just saying, that's a good one to mark off. You also have family vacations, trips to Grandma and Grandpa's house, other travel, maybe business travel. Maybe you're going to a special national park or doing some camping. You have sickness. Let's be honest. Let's be realistic. You don't know when that sickness is going to come. So how are you going to mark it off? Well, here's what I do. I just pick about how much time I think our family normally gets sick through the year, and that will vary. And I just pick a spot on the calendar and mark those days off with a different color highlighter. And so if I know I am going to have this many days set aside for sick days, then when someone comes in the morning or the middle of the night with a stomach flu, I don't go, oh no, our schedule's completely off. I go, oh, sick day. And that's exactly what the public schools do. And maybe you don't have to be too crazy about it, but if your state requires a certain number of days, you should think about being a little bit more particular about these things. You need field trips. Field trips probably do count as school days, but if you're using Homeschooling Torah, keep in mind that our lessons have 180 school days. I don't know why we did that. Sometimes I look back and I think, why? Why didn't I put in 160? Although, as a curriculum writer and as someone who knows there's a lot of fun stuff to cover, I thought 180 days will be great because we'll be able to learn so much, and that's an extra 20 days of information. Makes for a long school year sometimes. Just saying, just being honest. Sometimes this turns into, I have another video you can find on YouTube about why we school 12 months out of the year, why we do it year round, and this is one of the reasons. Pregnancy, nursing babies, those are some things that if you're in that season of life, you need to make sure you schedule for things like that. You do not know what a year will bring. Again, as I was saying just a second ago, hinting, you may want to consider thinking of your school year as a year-round school because you're not on a Christmas and Easter and summer off schedule like a normal American. You are on a biblical calendar, and you may want to look at everything different than you used to look at it. And it's okay. And in fact, it seems to be nice sometimes that you're inside in the summertime doing school because you can take off some days in the fall when the weather is actually much nicer and go camping and do things then. Okay, so you printed out your calendar. I want you to lay that on the desk in front of you. You've got it. You can see what your grand plan is for the whole year, except for the providence of God. Now you need to think about what are the broad subjects that you'll be studying this year. Just because you are a member of Homeschooling Torah and you have access to so many things does not mean that you should do all of them. And I would venture a guess that just because you're a member of Homeschooling Torah does not mean that you don't have other curriculum companies' supplies laying around your house. I know you do. I do too. And you have basically this feast of subjects and ideas and that doesn't even count what's sitting on your computer, all the free ebooks that you've downloaded through all the bundle sales throughout the year. So I want you to sit back for a second and be realistic. I have on our website a chart of subjects that are recommended for every age and basically a broad look at how we as the Elliott family have chosen to do Homeschooling Torah from kindergarten through 12th grade. Now, I have many children homeschooling at once, only 5 this year. It's gone down. It was 6, and before that it was 7. And so just because I have a world history in a certain grade, say it's 6th grade, I can't remember what it says on the chart, but Doesn't mean that all my kids will get it in 6th grade. I combine their kids together. We'll get onto that in just a second and tell you more about that. But this gives me a broad overview of at least what subjects and about what age range. Young elementary, middle ages, and high school. That's how I look at it. And I just want to get this core of subjects done in those years, and this core done in those years, and this core done in those years. It doesn't matter if they're in exactly that order. I promise you, I want you to combine your students. But you need to have some sort of an overview of at least what what you're shooting for. Of course, you're going to look again at your state requirements, and if they require American history or government, you're going to make sure that you get those done. If they require civics, oh, that's the same thing, sorry. If they require math or, whatever, make sure that you get those done first. Then you can put in some of the extras. Actually, not first. First should be the Torah. That should be the beginning. That's whether it's the Torah, whether it's the Old Testament, whether it's the apostolic scriptures, character studies, whatever it is, you need to make sure that you are first studying the scriptures every morning. But that's without saying. Okay, so now that you've kind of picked out who needs to do what subjects, find out where there's some common ground. As much as possible, combine your students together. This will save you time. Your students will get your instruction more because you will be more motivated to teach several kids than you will just one. And if you're the mother of just one, maybe it's different. I haven't been the mother of just one student in an incredibly long time and for a very short time. But your siblings would get instruction from each other. So I'm talking to those of you who have more than one child in homeschooling. As much as possible, combine your children together into a classroom. Be intentional about your time. It's much more efficient, and you can be a mom that can speak to all of your kids at once. Some subjects, however, must be done individually. Even though math drills can be combined, each day from your teacher's guide, you can say, we can do these drills together. And I fudge it a little bit. I've got last year, I had a 2nd grader and I had a 6th grader. No, last year. I had a 1st grader, I had a 3rd grader, and I had a 6th grader. But we combined our math drills together. Sometimes I did a little bit from the kindergarten through 2nd grade one, and sometimes I did math drills from the 4th through 8th grade. I hope I'm making sense. I need some more coffee. But some subjects must be done individually. And so what I do is I make a list of together subjects and a list of individual subjects. And so I've got all these lists going on. So now on my desk, I've got my annual calendar. I've got my list of together subjects. I've got my individual subjects. And then I'm going to have one more paper over here that's just for mom. And on that thing, it's going to say things like when I'm going to get my shower, when are we going to do laundry, what time are we going to have our meals every day, when are outside activities such as piano lessons, sports practice, grocery shopping, when are these things going to be? Are there any other activities, things that maybe mom and dad need to go have a date night, hopefully as often as possible? Where's some time to play? Where are naps? Where are times that kids can have quiet play by themselves, or maybe go off and explore their interests for older kids if they're not taking naps? Make sure that you have those things, and I have those on a separate list, okay? All right, let me talk for just a second about what you're going to do if you have preschool or very young elementary students who aren't reading very well. They're not able to read the instructions on a worksheet and go off and do it on their own. They need you for all of their school, and they're too young to do that much. And that's what I want to say. Don't do too much school with your young children. Give them a chance to be gentle about their childhood, to play, to get their hands dirty in the backyard, to just sit on the couch and do somersaults, or sit on the couch and stare off into the window. You don't have to structure every minute of your child's day. In fact, don't even begin to. Only structure a little tiny bit and let them be free. They do need naps. Maybe they don't need naps after age 4 or 5. Maybe even they don't sleep when you lay them down for a nap. Maybe they just kind of lay there and rest. But you need them to have a nap, but their body needs that rest time. They're growing so much. Think about how much growth is going on for a small child compared to you. And think how tired you get. They do need naps. A really good book, I'll put a link below it, below the video, on the importance of sleep and sleep cycles for your children, and how it helps their brain development, how it helps their emotional state, and how would help them learn. They need steady meals, snacks. They need not just to be grazing in the kitchen like cows all day, but to know their bodies need to have that rhythm of this is when I eat, this is when my digestion rests. And you will find that as you get close to mealtime, the learning goes down. They are out of energy, and sometimes after a meal they're very sleepy. So it just depends on what the meal is, and the more consistent you can make that every day, then you will find that you can what's the word? The more consistent you can make that mealtime every day, the more you can see that their bodies are responding to the food you've given them, to the good nourishment you've given them, and make it really intentional. To me, that's why I schedule a meal. A meal is probably one of the first things besides sleep and naps that I schedule, because I want to be sure that the body knows what to expect. Now, granted, as we've talked about at the beginning, sometimes Yehovah allows circumstances into our life that are different, and we can adapt to those with His help, but it takes a lot more grace and a lot more effort to not worry, doesn't it? For your kids' sake, for the most of the time, keep those meal times, those bedtimes, those nap times consistent every day. Make sure you have time for chores and teaching of life skills. Now, that's kind of two separate things. Chores and life skills, to me, I was thinking of, you need time to have your kids help you, because you're not going to be able to have the energy and the ability to get everything done, but you also need time to teach them how to do the skills, so that as they grow, they will be able to take over those things and be able to be competent adults. Those are two entirely different things. One of those is a teaching subject, which requires more energy from you, and the other one is a help to you. So I think those should be two separate times on your schedule. Make sure, as I said before, you must have time for play. Play is so important. This is a school subject for young children. Play, write it down. They must play. What about time for going on walks, especially walks out in creation, where you can point out the flowers and point out the bugs and point out the birds and look at the footprints and all of those things. Make sure you schedule those. Even younger children, babies, make sure that their days are predictable. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, but it is based on some good science. I think a baby should eat and then stay awake for a little while you change their diaper and you interact with them and you talk to them and you cuddle with them and you play and they see your face and you talk to them and they learn to crawl and they learn to go after toys. And then as they start to get sleepy, as they start to get, a little bit cranky, maybe 45 minutes, it depends on the age of the child, so I'll just leave it at that. Then they start to transition to bedtime. I don't nurse my children to sleep. I nurse them after they wake up, so that they can be sitting up and more in an upright position as they're trying to digest all that food. That's me. I know I'm not the ordinary, and that's fine. But whatever you do, be consistent. Do the same routine every day, and you will see that your baby will thrive under that consistency rather than just a random whatever happens in every day. For preschool kids, we have in our preschool curriculum 5 activities through which we rotate. We have a learning time, which is where very short time each day where they learn their letters and their numbers and their Bible verses. And in that time, you could have, if you have a lot of children that you're trying to schedule, you could have an older sibling come in and help teach that learning time. Or maybe you want to have it because you are the mom and you want to really take charge of that. Well, then while you're sitting with a preschool student, you could have the older kids doing some activity. So you need to be thinking about activities for every age while your preschool kids are going through their day. But a lot of the ideas that we have in our curriculum, we have a creative time where they can do a kind of an arts and craft project, a building time where they build things. That's kind of self-explanatory, most of the time with toys. An outside time, that one definitely needs supervision. And a rest time, that isn't a nap time, but it's just a quiet time where they might sit and look at a book or what they've done in their earlier creative time. It might be a time when they listen to some music through earphones. I highly recommend that. It might be a time they look at books when they just snuggle with a blankie in a special little spot with maybe a stuffed animal. All of these times are going to need to be put on the calendar, but I would advise you, if you have older children, not just preschool, if you have someone that's in school, that you try to work those times around to help you out. Some of those activities you can give to your smaller kids can give you 15-20 minutes of time to work with an older one. Anyway, I do all of those basically in the same room, except for outside time, of course. And again, someone needs to be supervising, an older sibling or someone. But those can be all within your earshot, your eyesight. but still, you don't have to be the person directly supervising if they have siblings that could help. We have 2 books that are available. No, sorry. At this point, I have 1 book that is available to our members. It is free on our website. It's called The 4 Foundations of Lifelong Learning, and it goes much deeper into scheduling the first 5 years of a child's life, maybe even the first 7 or 8 years. And if you are not a member, it is available very inexpensively for purchase, and all of those links are there for you. Okay, so you've scheduled the year, you've scheduled your subjects and what you're going to do. Now let's talk about, and you even chose what you would do together and what you would do independently, but let's talk a little bit more about that together time. Okay, when it comes to together school, there's a reason why I have together school, and it's not just to make my life easier, although that's a really big part of it. I do want to have the energy to be a mom and a wife, and it helps a lot to combine my kids. But the biggest reason I want to do together school with my kids is it says on your handout, AMAP. It's as much as possible I want to be with my kids. And when they're together, I have more time to be with them. I'm going to be honest with you. Our curriculum was set up for the parents to be directly involved in their kids' lives as much as possible. I know there are circumstances, customers who cannot be with their kids as much as they would like. So you can take our worksheets and some of our curriculum. There's a blog post on under I think it's under the high school category, because we're hoping that you're going to do this for older kids and not so much for younger kids. But there is a blog post that tells you how to set up your kids' day if you have to work or you can't be there very much at all. And they can do our subjects independently. It's possible. But our ideal, what we're hoping that we will do, because it's scriptural, for the parents to be with their kids and to be, as you are going, as you're walking, as you're sitting, as you're rising, as you're lying down, you can talk to your kids and discuss important things with them. And over the space of a lifetime of living in your house of 20 years or so, you can convey a lot of information and wisdom to the next generation. So that's why we say that to be together with your kids as much as possible. Now, as possible is what it is. It is different. Don't compare yourself to any other family. Every season of your life, some seasons will give you all kinds of time with your kids, and you won't take advantage of it because maybe you'll be on the computer or on Facebook or reading a book or playing. And yet you don't know that just around the corner is coming a season that you won't be able to spend as much time with your kids. So I urge you to spend as much time with your kids as possible. Don't forget though. So as we're talking about planning out together school alone, where you are with just your kids all together, here are some things to make sure you don't forget. You need to take time each day to plan. All right, next this section. So we're going to talk about how to actually plan out your together school time. There are some things I don't want you to forget as you plan out your schedule. And I'm thinking here is you're trying to figure out how much time this is going to take you to do together school each day. As you figure out how much hunk of a time you need, don't forget that you're going to need time to plan as a mother, time to print out things, especially if you're using our curriculum, but it doesn't really matter. If you're using books, you're going to need time to get them to the school area, but that would be a little less. Honestly, with our curriculum, you will need time to print each week. You're going to need time to hand out all of the things that you printed. So you're going to need a system. If you have a system, it goes quick. I've been doing this for many years now, and it's kind of just a habit. So it's not hard, but it does take some time to become that. You're going to need time to set up every morning. You're going to need time in your day. So if you want Together School to only last for 2 hours, let's be reasonable about this. Your kids may be daydreaming. They might be stewing that morning. You don't know what a day will bring, right? You'll have other interruptions. The door, someone will knock on the door. There'll be unexpected problems. You know, the pipes are broken and everything is water is gushing all over the basement. I'm talking about real things that have happened here. You need time for snacks. Kids cannot just go like machines all day. You need rest times. We would call it recess, okay? You need times for cleaning up at the end of Together School time, or you will have a trashed house. I can promise you that your house can get really bad really fast. So you need to take time every single day to make sure that everything is put away and your house is returned to looking like a house and not a combination of a zoo and a school. You need time for record keeping and filing away things. That's one that often gets procrastinated on. But I want to also encourage you to have definite start times and stop times to your Together School. We'll say, kids, we are going to start at 9 o'clock and we are going to stop at noon. Okay, this may not fit you, so don't necessarily think yours will be 3 hours. But you need to have that start time and that stop time, and everything else that they don't accomplish. Maybe one day they are daydreaming and they're not really getting their work done, but 12 o'clock comes, you are a mom that has other things that need to be done in your day, and they should not be stealing some of that from you. That's a principle of Torah. And if they steal, then restitution needs to be made. You know, they need to help you then with extra chores. But or what I would say is, I'm sorry, it's 12 o'clock, we didn't get this done. This has now become homework and you will not be allowed to play until this homework is done. That way it's on them and not on you. Having said that, you'll have to be flexible with your times. And what I don't want to see is that every day is different. Every day is completely random. It would be much better to have some sort of order to it. Okay, so Together School, as you plan that hunk of time, I get asked a lot, how much time do I plan? I have a link to a blog post that will give you ideas of how long I would suggest you use for each subject, but I don't know your kids, and I don't know your personality, and I don't really want to bind you to that. You really need to know yourself, okay? The next thing that we're going to do is make those checklists. Checklists are for independent work. Checklists are for your kids to take and say, I got to do this, this, this. I put mine in, for each child, in a plastic sheet protector and give them a thin Expo dry erase marker. And that way they mark off each day what they've done. And my kids really like doing that. And then the next morning they wipe it clean and do it again. Kids love to know what to expect in a day. And they can do their list at any time. That's the rule in our house. So if one child is a morning person and she wants to get up at 7 o'clock and start right into math, I would never have done that. I would have needed more time to wake up. I would have been more likely doing it at 10 o'clock at night. But you would also want to make sure that you have a time in your day outside of Together School time that you can help your kids with their individual work if they need help. And individual work, by the way, might be, let's say, just talking about math for a second. In our arithmetic curriculum, we have drills that you do with the kids, little games and review of flashcards and so on, so that they get their facts down. And then you teach a new concept, and that will take maybe, so say the drills take 10 or 15 minutes for just one grade level, and then another 10 or 15 minutes to explain the new concept, and you've got your whiteboard and you're doing the problems together until you're sure that they know them. But I don't do all of the problems on a page with my kids, except for maybe my kindergarten, first grade, until they can read the directions. But after that, they do the rest of it on their own. And I would expect it would take them about a half an hour. So if you sit at that table, bored out of your mind, trying not to play on your phone, thinking, come on, kids, keep going, come on, you feel impatient and frustrated, why are they taking so long? It's much better to say, no, that's going to be their independent schoolwork. They're going to go do that at whatever time of day they want. So my daughter that wakes up at 7, she hasn't done her math drills yet, and she hasn't been introduced to new concepts, but she can do a lot of the worksheet all on her own without my help. So she knows that if she comes to a problem that she doesn't know how to do, she just leaves it blank and goes on to the next one. And then at our together time, we've got the whiteboard, and I can explain things, and I kind of look over the page to say, you know, you did that one up there, but that was wrong, so here, let's fix it. And I can work with her. But I did not have to spend 30 minutes to 60 minutes a day sitting with her watching her do math. That's no fun. It teaches them responsibility. It teaches them to follow a list and to get through things, to not procrastinate, because they're not allowed to do other fun things until they've done their schoolwork. So again, set aside, make sure you have 2 things scheduled on your list. You need a time to teach them things that they don't know, and you need, individually, especially math, maybe phonics and things like that. You need a time, spelling tests and stuff. And you need a time to check that they have actually done their work. It seems that every child in our house has tried this at one time or another. My life has gotten busy and I slacked off on the checking. I just assumed that because they were sitting on the couch with a pencil and doing their work, that they were actually doing it. When a lot of the times they would close up their notebook and say, "I'm done, Mom," throw it back in their bag and gamble that I wouldn't check. And it seems that every child has tried that. No, you have to be the mom and actually check that they've done the work, or they will, as the verse says, a child left to himself will bring his mother to shame. Okay, so I print out these checklists. I put a master checklist in my binder so that I have, I should talk about the binders for a second. In my binder, I have just like I'm going with you, I have my calendar for the school year and a thing to mark down our attendance each day so that I can keep track of how many days we've done school. I have a list of all the subjects we do in our together time, and I have check boxes because I'm a check boxy kind of person. Wouldn't have to do that. And then behind that, I have each of my children's independent checklists, but then I give them their checklists to put in their 3-ring binders inside of plastic sheet protectors, like I said, so they can mark things off. All right, so fifthly, the 5th thing you need to do, I'll get to the notebooks in a second. Make sure you plan for weekly printing and planning time. I talked about that a second before, but I prefer to do weekly. I like it more than monthly. And the reason is first of all, I'm in a routine. It's not one day of my month that is like 6 hours of printing. I don't know if it would actually take that long because I've never done that. I really do it every week. Every Sunday morning. Sabbath is over, we kind of sleep in a little bit longer on a Sunday morning, have a yummy breakfast, and I'm sitting here planning out our school week and printing things, but it doesn't take me very long because I do it every single Sunday. I have an order. I look at our list of Together School and I just go down the list. Okay, I need to print that. Okay, I need Torah portions. I need to print math. I need to print phonics. I need to print history. Actually, some of this stuff I don't do printed. I have a little bit of a mix of print and digital. And I have a lot of people. If I had a dime for every time someone says, I just like to hold it in my hand, I understand. I just like to save paper and I don't really like to print. So I tend to use digital. So I've got my cell phone and I also have a Kindle. It's an old Kindle. I've had it for, oh goodness, since Kindles came out. It's just the old ugly kind. And I use that a lot because the PDFs, it's a little bit bigger than my smartphone, and a tablet would be great. But this was cheap, and goodness, if you wait till Kindle Prime Day, then you can get them really, really cheap. Or look on eBay for a used one. But they're just a nice size for the PDF that is printed out of the teacher's manuals, and I have them on there. It's so easy to put them on there, and I hold it in my hand. It's so much like paper, but that's me. I can't obviously write on it, but on my smartphone, that also works. If there have been times I've used my smartphone. It's a little smaller, and I have to kind of make it bigger, but it works. So I'm a mix of a paper and a digital person. That saves me a ton of ink. I only print out the things that we're actually going to write on. But again, I have a little bit of a rhythm to this. Because I know what subjects we're going to do, and I know what subjects my kids are going to do independently, it takes me no time at all to just see. That list is more than just knowing my schedule. It's also my printing list. It's also my checking list. It's also later turn it into a transcript for my high school student list. So all of those lists are just useful all the time. If you are a printing person like I am, and whether you do it monthly or weekly is fine. If you are wanting to do it monthly, I do have some good news. We are turning our downloads into monthly downloads. We'll still have the weekly ones available for people like me because I like the weekly, and I'm sure there must be someone else out there like me. but we'll have both weekly and monthly, so you can print them at once if you would like to. That should be available September 1st. And then I also, at the very end of it, as you know, I have okay, let's say I'm printing out science, and I get onto the page for science. Right by the download button, right under it, it says science supplies needed this week. You're going to need a 2-liter bottle for Coke. You're going to need aluminum foil. You're going to need a light bulb. I'm making this up. So if I don't have one of those things in the house, we don't drink a lot of Coke. So I'm like, oh, we need to get some A&W root beer this week because we need it for a science experiment. The kids will be thrilled because we don't usually do that. So over here I have my shopping list. So all of these lists are done at once. I get it done very quickly. I'm done in about 30 minutes, and I have my coffee. I really enjoy my quiet planning time every week, but again, this is my personality, and I do realize that. But making a list for my science supplies, preschool supplies, phonics supplies that I'm going to need that week, math manipulatives that I need to get out. I hand that list to one of my daughters. She goes and gets the supplies for the week of things that we have in the house, and she puts them in one spot. So it doesn't take me very long. So now we have everything printed. I have a 3-hole punch. I punch all my papers, and so I've got a pile for Mom. I've got piles for each of the kids. Okay, so I do have a long desk, just saying. It is kind of a big desk. So now we are going to take our notebooks, and we're going to put everything into the notebooks. You need a time each week for passing out all of these papers. You're going to need to have dividers inside of the notebooks. These are very inexpensive school supplies, by the way. To buy dividers, to buy a simple 3-ring binder, notebook paper, spiral notebooks, composition books. These are some of the cheapest of all of the school supplies. Expo markers will probably, for dry erase, probably cost you more than all of the other things. So pencils and paper. Anyway, we put all of those things into the 3-ring binders, and each Sunday morning I hand out, okay, Casey, here are your papers. Alistair, here are your papers. Candace, here are your papers. And they have to put them in. And it takes a little longer at the beginning of a school year when they're not used to it, but I promise you it doesn't take long after a while. You also need a place to put away the binders and all your school books at night and on the weekends. Maybe you are blessed to have a room that is dedicated to just school, but even there, you want to leave it neat and tidy, right? You don't want to just have everything thrown out, except for special occasions. But for the rest of us that are using dining rooms and living rooms and sometimes minivans to do our schoolwork, you need to have a place, whether it's a book bag, whether it's a plastic tote, a file tote that you can hang things in. Those worked one year, we did that. Whether it's those color-coded plastic clear, I have just gone completely blank as to what they're called, but it's a cart, and it's all color-coded, and those work really great. Goodness, you can even get a Homeschooling Torah bag that has Homeschooling Torah on the side for each of your kids. No, you don't have to. But whatever it is, I think it's the most wonderful time of the year to do school supply shopping. In fact, I just have to show you a clip of my favorite song. Okay, so have fun going shopping for your inexpensive homeschool supplies. Do not think that you have to have the fanciest of everything. Make sure you take a list with you, because if you're anything like me, you'll want to buy the whole store. One thing I do buy is a stack of Post-it notes. I keep Post-it notes, and then I have those little flag Post-it sticky note things. They're just very small. Those are great bookmarks. I use them along with dividers, and I have sticky notes everywhere. Sometimes at the end of the day, I take all the sticky notes on which I've written reminders to myself, and I put them on my desk, and then I can go through them and make sure that I actually look at all of my reminders. But I love sticky notes. They're fun. Okay, so we've talked about how to plan out your school year with your going from annual all the way down to everything, the minor details and sticky notes, okay? Let's just really quick wrap up with other things on your mom's schedule. You need to make sure that you have time with your Heavenly Father, time with Abba every morning. As the saying goes, no Bible, no breakfast. Having said that, you do have a Torah time, and there are seasons in your life when you're crazy busy and you need sleep as well. And I want to point out that you can have your time with Abba, with Torah time with your kids at the same time, if you are intentional about it. We even have put it this year on our Torah time, a place to put prayer requests and answers to prayer, and to make that, you could add music and sing a song of praise to Him each day. I highly recommend those things. But make sure that time with Abba is a priority. If nothing else, you might take I keep wanting to grab my phone. You could take your cell phone into the bathroom with you and have an intentional verse that you look at each time. You can make it fit you, but do make sure you have time for him on your schedule. Make sure that you have time for meals and cleaning. You're going to need time to make a menu. A master shopping list is really helpful for making menus. I have a master shopping list in your Homeschooling Torah membership under home. I think it's under home. I'll put a link below the video. I'm not even sure. But you can make a master menu and a master shopping list. You can borrow our menus, tweak them to fit your family, or you can just use the same meals over and over again. But in busy seasons of your life, that can be a real lifesaver. You don't have, if you love to cook, and it's your if you love to cook and it's your favorite time of the day, then by all means do it. But if it's just something you have to get done, let us help you, all right? And you can talk to the other moms on the Facebook group and get ideas for recipes. Say, listen, I am so stuck for time, and this is what I have in the house. What do I make tonight? And everyone, I promise you'll have more ideas and you'll know what to do with. You can stick a master shopping list, though, to help you each week as you plan out your menu. And then I just stick one of those sticky notes on the side of my refrigerator. And as I run out of things in the house, I know I'm out of toothpaste, I'm out of deodorant, I'm out of vanilla. Let's put these things on the list. You can order your groceries online. I have a friend right now that's doing this with jet.com, J-E-T. I have not done it. I'm very tempted by it. She said that the prices are competitive. I haven't tried it, but there are a lot of grocery stores that are doing it. I had another mom over in Grand Rapids that said that the prices were exactly the same and there was no charge for them to deliver them to her house. Like, wow, what a perfect thing for a mom of small children. I think that you should take your kids to the store sometime to teach them how to behave and how to shop and all this, but you could also take a lot of burden off of your plate by a lot of the weeks, maybe while you're doing school, having someone do that for you. Learn to cook faster. Learn to use a crock pot. Reduce the clutter in your kitchen and pantry. When you reduce the clutter, it seems to help with the mental clutter as well and speed you up. Get help with the cleaning around your house. You might even, if you have the finances for it, hire some help. But if not, hire those little kids that you have. Not necessarily hire them. You could, but get some help. Do it as a family even. Say, listen, kids, we are going to take 15 minutes and we are going to clean the bathroom together. I don't know how many people you can fit in your bathroom, but you could have people doing it together and it makes it more fun. Put on some fun music. That always works for us. Have a master plan of when you will clean what, and that way you can relax and not feel like you always have something to do. You can say, no, the list says that I'm going to be doing that in 3 weeks from now. It can wait. I can do it then. I'm talking more about the spring cleaning and the deep cleaning jobs. Again, in our we have, for all of our members, we have homemaking forms, we have menus, we have recipes, and we have a Facebook group that you can get help from. Make sure that you schedule time with your spouse. Date nights. You know, I say if you can find a babysitter, and you should put this as a high priority, try to get a date night as often as possible, even as much as once a week. I think that it's fantastic for your marriage. Time with other adults, time for fellowship, and I think that one of the best times for that is on Shabbat, but you might need it on another time too. Sometimes I sneak away to my friend's house and we just talk. I can't do it all the time, but it is very refreshing, and you need to schedule time for that. Time to talk to your parents, time to talk to your relatives, your grandparents if they're still alive, just you as an adult. Make sure you schedule that. Okay, let's talk about troubleshooting. You've tried a schedule and you can't get it to work no matter what you do. Schedules never work for you. I'm done with schedules. Well, here's some things. Before you throw the schedule out the window, look at your whole life over the past few months and say, what is working? What did we do well? Make a list of the things that you did well. You know, maybe you made your bed every single day. That's something that you really did. I mean, maybe everything else fell down after that, but you got that much done. You might be surprised after making a list of how much you really are on a routine and you didn't know it, and how many things you're doing well with your family. It'll also help you see the areas very specifically what is not working. And here are some things, some reasons why schedules don't work. Maybe your tasks just need a time. Maybe they just are wandering around and you keep saying, you know, I'm going to make tzitzit when I have some spare time. And spare time never comes, so you never make another set of tzitzit. That's just one example that we had in our house very recently. You need to schedule a specific time for the task or it's just not going to happen. Maybe you're scheduling it at the wrong time of day. You know, your motivation is bigger and less as the day goes on, as your energy levels go up and down. Maybe you're a morning person and your husband's an evening person. This goes for school subjects as well. There are times of the day when kids are able to do math, and there are times of the day that they're not. Those harder subjects, maybe they can't listen very well in history as you read because they're just so tired. How long does each task take? As I said, I have a blog post that I have put down a good estimate of how long to expect at different age levels for each subject to take. It is just an estimate to help you get started. So make a list of your subjects, as I was saying, and estimate what you think how long each subject will take. You can use mine as a guide, but now you need to, over the next few weeks, keep track of the actual times. So you've got your estimate, but don't live by that. That's just a guess. It's not you. Now keep track of what it really does take you, and then revisit the whole subject in another month or so and make it much more accurate. I would say at least a month, because you need time to learn the curriculum. You need time to learn where things are. Your personality, you might not understand my instructions in the curriculum so it takes a little bit of time to get to know each other. But after you've gotten into a little bit of a rhythm, those times are going to be very accurate. And remember, personalities and homes are different. For instance, Craig, my husband, oftentimes lately has been teaching the kids certain subjects because I'm working with you guys. And so I've noticed his personality and my personality. And he was a teacher, okay? A public school teacher for many years, a Sunday school teacher, a pastor. He knows how to teach. But he and I don't do anything alike. And it just makes me laugh. Sometimes it makes me frustrated. But that just is a good sign to me as a curriculum writer that not every person using my curriculum will do it like I do it. That's what? And that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be. Your children are in your house. Jehovah God put them in your house, not my house. He wants you to teach them. That's why he put them there and not over here. And so my ideas, again, are just suggestions. Please feel free to tweak them. And maybe your schedule's not working because you just need some help. Maybe a certain subject is too hard for you to teach, and that's okay. You can write to us for help. We can try to make a video or something to help you out, but if that doesn't work, maybe it's a different curriculum that you need, and that is okay too. Maybe you need to be somewhere else, and maybe you need a job, or maybe a parent is elderly and needs help, and you're not going to be able to do it, so you're going to need help. Maybe you have an unrealistic workload and too many things. You can't get 8 days of work done in every 6 days. Ask me how I know this. Maybe you have health problems and you just know that you're going to need some help. Maybe your life is in transition, you're moving across the country, or your husband has lost his job, or just a variety of things. Your life is in flux right now, so your schedule's not going to work very good. Maybe you have interruptions such as babies. They're not interruptions, they're not, but they feel it some way on a schedule. But they're not, and that's the thing. You just need to remember that your schedule's not going to work quite the same right now. Maybe you have a farm, and a farm life is very different from a city life. Do try to say no to everything except for the things that are your priorities. Obviously, a baby is a priority. Maybe going on a camping trip with a friend or this or that is not a priority right now. Try to say no to things. Be brave, speak up. If that's a thing that's hard for you, I'm talking to you right now. Say no. You can even go into the mirror and practice. No, I can't do that today. I have other plans. Sometimes your schedules get messed up because of other people's chaos that overflows onto your life. Your life, you're trying to keep it orderly, but the phone rings. Someone comes to the door. You keep getting texts all day from a certain friend. Facebook drama is pulling you in. That's a really good time to say no. You really do need to say no. get all of that drama out of your life. And sometimes we moms ourselves are the drama queens. We are seeking out drama. We're a little bit bored with teaching our kids, a little bit bored with staying home, so we go out and we seek drama. Don't be a drama queen. Don't do that. Accept the responsibility for what Yehovah has given you. Sometimes it's just fear that makes our schedules not work. And you know when that paralyzes you. You'll know when that's true. Sometimes it's perfectionism. You want everything to be perfect, and the schedule that you have made is unrealistic. And sometimes you just haven't planned for planning times. And so everything is just kind of hit and miss and random as you go through the day. I read an author that said a cluttered life is often a thing that keeps you from keeping a schedule. And she said, if you go in your closet and your closet is a big mess, a big cluttered mess, that's usually a sign that everything else in your life is cluttered too. Your checkbook, your schedule, your eating habits, your sleeping habits, and so on. That was a really convicting point. I have 3 books below, 2 of them by an author I really do like. Her books are older now, so some of them are going out of print. She talks about things like Palm Pilots instead of cell phones, but I do like her books. They are really helpful. One of them is Time Management from the Inside Out, and one of them is Organization from the Inside Out. And I also have an ebook called The Organized Homeschool, and that is available free to our members and inexpensively to everybody else. So if those would help you out, get those, and we'll give you even more ideas on what to do to get organized, to get your schedule in order. So I hope these things have helped you. In the chat room, we've had people, talking, and we hope that you have had a chance to ask your questions. If you're watching this video later, please feel free to contact us in the contact form at the top of the website, and we would love to help you. Again, put your life in His hands, in His providence. He knows what He's doing. The things that He brings into your life are of His goodwill and His love for you. Shalom.